And welcome back to the Shadow Gallery. I, as am always, your host, James Donnelly. And tonight, we're going to talk, just right here, this guy, these people, these things, the Green Lantern Corps. This was, by the way, this is the prop ring from the film. It's a fuckload better than any ring that has ever been put out before for GL. I've always wanted a cool Green Lantern ring, and this is definitely it. It's one that I can actually wear, and it's not really meant for wearing though. But fuck it, because the other ones that were out there, there's kind of silver ones with the green in the center. You know, those really shitty ones that will actually turn your finger almost completely green. Those ones suck. So. Excuse me. Anyway, we're going to talk about the recent video release, direct-to-video release, newest direct-to-video release from DC Universe Animation, which is Green Lantern Emerald Knights. A lot of people were probably hoping that this would be the movie that the actual live-action film was. Because not only does it have Nathan Fillion as as Hal Jordan, but it has more of basically an almost entirely space-based story. And it's not a story by just one person either. It is kind of little vignettes, if you will, of different Green Lantern Corps members. It is certainly not entirely focused on Hal Jordan. This is a hell of a lot better than Green Lantern First Flight, which I thought was very dull. I actually fell asleep while watching it the first time, and rewatched it again and still think it's dull. So this was a lot stronger than that. Basically what you have here is, you have a couple different directors. Obviously, Bruce Timm overseeing everything, and you have different writers like some of the people that were involved in the writing of the film, the live-action film, like Mark Guggenheim. And then you actually have professional comics writers like Dave Gibbons, and like of course Jeff Johns has to have a story in there. And so you have the tale, and it's basically what you have is I think it's Aresia. Who is a young Lantern, a rookie Lantern, and basically gets different stories of different characters from the Corps, from people like Hal basically telling a couple stories. Sinestro tells a story. Kilowog tells a story, and they all kind of culminate in their battle against I can never remember his name, but he's the bad guy right now in War of the Green Lanterns. I know that much. But you have Hal telling stories about the first Lantern, the first one that was kind of chosen as the ring selection was kind of first. It was kind of like because again, they talk about it's not two people who are fearless, but it's two people who have the ability to overcome fear. So those tales, all the tales in and of themselves are really interesting. Hal's first tale about the first Lantern, really good. Kilowog's tale about his drill instructor. And why he's, why he used the term poozer. It's just a really good overall story. One of the great stories, the one actually written by Dave Gibbons, which is basically the tale of Mogo, which is, of course, the living planet, who is a Green Lantern. Although my favorite tale is the one that Sinestro tells about Abin Sur. And then Avensor, basically when, because this is when Sinestro was still good, obviously. Of course, Avensor and Sinestro were kind of the best of friends. And Avensor believed in destiny, and this is, this particular vignette, this particular story, the one that was written by Jeff Johns, as I said, this has, it has the character of Atrocitus, prior to the whole kind of different spectrum, the Red Lanterns, the Blue Lanterns, and so on and so forth. So I mean, but it's a really compelling tale about Avensor and Sinestro and their take on whether or not destiny even exists. Avensor definitely believes in destiny, and Sinestro does not. He believes that whatever you make is whatever you make of yourself is what you do. There's nothing preordained. Even though Atrocitus has the ability to kind of see this kind of twisted vision of the future, and of course he sees Sinestro becoming, forming his own core and using, of course, the yellow power of fear, to actually take, to destroy the Green Lanterns. So, and then of course it all culminates in this, big, this big, huge, widescreen action set piece, in which they have to defeat the main bad guy, who's literally living in a sun. He's living in the sun that orbits Oa, or that Oa orbits around. I don't, can never really remember, because I mean, Oa is supposed to be the center of the universe. I don't know if they mean the planet or the solar system that it's in. So, but overall, I mean, voice work by people like Jason Isaacs, who's, he is, you probably know him best as Lucius Malfoy from the Harry Potter films. Henry Rollins doing the voice of Kilowog. That's cool. Arnold Vosloo, who you probably best know as the Mummy from the first two Mummy films. Who's an actor that I actually really like. But there were some other people in there. Of course, Nathan Fillion, because he's a god. It was just really well done. Very, very enjoyable. Better than the film. And better than the feature film that's in cinemas right now. And if you get, I don't know if it's on the actual DVD, but if you get the Blu-ray, there's some really cool extra features in there. There's a little bit too much kind of blowing smoke up the ass of Jeff Johns overall, but I mean, he's kind of a guy that deserves it, because he is a pretty damn talented individual. But there's one where it talks about the psychology of kind of heroism, and who specifically overcoming fear. What makes a hero, and because Hal is kind of the definition of a hero. He's not, he's somewhat close to Superman in the sense that he has a pretty pure motive for being a hero, but I mean, not quite so much, because he is still just human, although he does happen to wield the most powerful weapon in the universe. And of course a lot different from Batman, because Batman is essentially kind of seeking vengeance. That still is kind of what his, it's not, maybe not his primary goal anymore, but it's certainly what birthed him. And Hal Jordan was someone who basically accepted who accepted the responsibility. So I guess more than anybody else, maybe he's more like Spider-Man, because he has, some of the greatest responsibility in all of the galaxy, because, or all of the universe, because he has certainly one of the greatest powers, and we've seen how that power sometimes corrupts. And it talks, in this segments with Jeff Johns, it talks about how he really didn't care for the way that Hal Jordan kind of went nuts during the Emerald Twilight, and when Kyle Rayner was handed the ring. Although I certainly don't regret the creation of Kyle Rayner as a GL. I think he brought kind of a fresh take to it, but of course, you know, the preeminent GL will always be Hal Jordan. So, anyway, I would definitely give this a 9 out of 10. I definitely suggest that you pick it up, or at least see it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the film. I'm changing my rating. For those of you who saw my film review of the Green Lantern live-action film, I'm changing that from an 8 to a 7. The reason being is that after some thought, there are some things that I'm just not comfortable with. And they center around one character, and they're pretty big. Well, there's 3, really. First one, this is kind of a little bit nitpicky, but I'm not really sure why exactly Parallax decides to come to Earth to destroy it. Is he... Cause maybe for somebody who maybe was paying better attention than I was, or whatever, could explain that to me, because I don't know if he was just attracted to the power signature of Abin Sur's ring, or if it was his direct correlation between the, you know, Hector Hammond, you know, so I'm not really sure why exactly, you know, Parallax wanted to destroy Earth. So that is part of what, you know, that should have been made more clear, I guess. Because the movie is scattered. Because you definitely get the sense that Martin Campbell, who has done primarily, you know, mid-budgeted films at best prior to this, is all of a sudden given a $200 million budget and says, you know, he's not the kind of... He's a hired gun. He's not like Jim Cameron bringing Avatar, which is admittedly a worse film than this, in my opinion, but at least Jim Cameron was very passionate about bringing that vision to life. This, you don't get that sense from Martin Campbell. You don't get the sense that, you know what, I'm really passionate about this project. I want to make this the best film it can be. You just kind of get, it's a kind of all over the place. You know, there's a lot of ideas being thrown at you at once, and not really the time. It could have stood to been at least 20 minutes longer, and I think I said that in my initial review. Another thing, this is, again, surrounding the same character, and that's the character of Sinestro. There is not nearly enough Sinestro. And there's not nearly enough moments of character for Sinestro in which we get to, you know, because you get that, you know, he is an arrogant son of a bitch, but you don't get the feeling that, you know, he and Abin Sur were friends, and that he believes that, you know, that using the, you know, using the yellow spectrum is really the future of the Green Lantern Corps, because there's supposed to be at least, you know, an adversarial relationship, but one that's kind of based on respect between Hal and Sinestro. And if there was a moment in the end there where Hal has defeated Parallax, and you get the feeling that you know, that Sinestro is no longer considered to be the greatest of the Green Lanterns. They're kind of, you know, everybody's kind of looking at Hal now. I thought that there should have been a moment where it was made clear that Sinestro felt like he had somewhat fallen from grace. Or, you know, he was no longer, you know, he's kind of, you know, if you're to equate him to some other stories, he's kind of like Lucifer in the Bible, is that he's someone who's very much full of pride, and that pride ultimately is his downfall. And, you know, so he would be, you know, Lucifer in the Green Lantern universe. And then, of course, the very end, the post-credit sequence in which he takes the, you know, the yellow ring and he puts it on, seemed very forced. It was just like, okay, we've got to have a villain for the next film if one does come out. So let's just do it now and get it over with instead of developing it. So that's why I changed my 8 to a 7. Still a good film, still worth checking out. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I'm James Donnelly. This is the Shadow Gallery, and see you later. where my power